Hi everyone, so short intro. This video is about finding the best possible controller settings for yourself. I go over your dead zones, horizontal, vertical, your build and edit sensitivity, and then also how you can find your ADS sensitivity at the end of this video too. So if this video helps, let me know below. Enjoy. Okay, so the first thing we're going to check out is your dead zone. And so what you want to do to figure out what dead zone you should have is you want to go into your settings and put your left and right stick dead zone onto 5.5. Now, once you have it at 5.5, if your character is looking in any direction or moving by itself, that means that your dead zones are too low. So what you want to do is you want to come back to your settings and then raise your dead zones by 1 and 1 each. And then you want to repeat this process until you find yourself a dead zone where your controller is not moving and not looking by itself. My controller is brand new, so I can run 5.5, but some of you guys who have older controllers or have owned your controllers for a while, they might have stick drift on lower dead zones, and you might just have to raise them 1 by 1 until you get to a point where your character is not looking or moving by itself. So just really quickly, it's a little hard to show, but I'll show it on this right stick. So essentially this little blue dot is how far your analog stick has to move before it'll start responding. So if I increase my dead zone like this, you'll see that that blue dot gets bigger, and that means that I have to move my analog stick past this area before it'll start responding. So naturally, the least amount that you have to move it before it responds, the better, which is why you want to have the lowest possible dead zone. But some of your guys' controllers will already have the right stick kind of moving, and that's what causes the stick drift. Some of your controllers are already moving past this before you've touched it. So you want to raise it like little by little until you get to a point where it's responding instantly without like it doing it by itself. All right, so next we're going on to your look horizontal speed and look vertical speed. So as a rule of thumb, most people use between 35 and 45 in the horizontal and vertical. If you kind of go any lower or any higher than that, it kind of gets like a little uncontrollable. So for me personally, over the past couple of years, I've usually gone from 41 to 43, between there, depending on like how the game updates and how it feels. I've had to change it a couple times. Usually between 41 and 43 is where I like to sit, where it's comfortable for me. So what I'd recommend is switching this to 40 and 40. And then if you feel like it's too slow, then obviously raise it by 1. And if you feel like it's too fast, then decrease it by 1, and try and have a play around with how it feels for you. The next thing you want to go to is your build mode sensitivity. So I would recommend for everybody who's trying to figure out what sensitivity they want to use to turn their build and edit to both 1.8 each. And then you want to just go into creative, and what you want to do is kind of just practice your free builds, you know, see how the build sensitivity feels. If it feels too fast for you, then obviously slow it down, and if it feels a little bit too slow, then speed it up. And when you eventually find a sensitivity that's comfortable for you, I recommend trying not to change it often. You need to be able to give yourself some time to build up the muscle memory. And if you're switching your sensitivities too often, it's hard to actually get comfortable with just one. So when you've found one that you feel like works, grind it out a little and see how it feels for you. Okay, now moving on to your edit mode sensitivity. Now I recommend setting this to 1.8 while you're trying to figure out which was the best for you. A rule of thumb for setting your sensitivity is you don't want your edit mode sense to be more than 2 levels higher than your build mode sensitivity. So what I mean by that is if your build mode is 2.5, you don't want it to be higher than 2.7. Now the reason for that is your build mode sensitivity is how fast you look around when you have your pen and paper out, and your edit sensitivity is how fast you look around when you're in your edit mode. And so you want to have them kind of similar so that when you're switching between your building and your editing, your sensitivity doesn't go from one extremity to another. So you want to keep them close so that they're both consistent when you switch between them. Okay, so the way that you want to find out if this is the right edit speed for you is you just want to come up and start editing the wars. Now, one of the things that you want to focus on while editing is your crosshair placement. Now, what crosshair placement is essentially how far or how you move your analog stick. So for example, this is bad crosshair placement, as if I was to do an edit like this, but I did an edit where I ended up like here. So if you see, when I confirm my edit, my crosshair is all the way down in the bottom right corner of the side. So if there was somebody in this box, I would have to readjust all the way to the middle to get a shot on them. Now, an example of good crosshair placement is doing a very minimal movement, and then as you see when I confirm, I'm already aiming at where my opponent would be. If your crosshair placement is really good, then you know you might have found a sensitivity that works perfectly for you. But if you find yourself struggling and your crosshair placement is really bad, or you're just trying to work out your build sensitivity for the first time, What I recommend doing is just standing in front of a wall and moving around and trying to work on like doing the best, most optimal movements possible. Try not to move your analog stick too much and trying to do very deliberate edits. If you're going for an edit, if you commit to it, try and do it like in the most efficient way possible. And eventually over time, the more that you practice that, the better your muscle memory will get and you'll be more comfortable. Again, another tip is if you feel something feels kind of comfortable, don't switch it. Try to give it some time so you can build up the muscle memory and you might be more comfortable with it quicker than you thought. Okay, so now finally moving on to your ADS. Now I personally have never trained this before, but I have watched a bunch of YouTube videos of a bunch of pros, and what seems to be the common settings for them is between 9 and 12, I would say. So I picked 10. I've just been using 10 ever since. I never really done any practice with it. If you're trying to find out what yours is if you're trying to track somebody and your crosshair is like consistently lagging behind them, that means that your ADS is too slow. So you'll need to speed that up. Same goes if you're trying to track somebody and you keep overshooting and going way past them, that means it's too fast and you need to turn it down. Now that'll take a little bit of practice and some time. I recommend playing creative 1v1s or just playing some squad matches and trying to track people with your ARs and seeing how they move. But that's the general rule of thumb when looking at what ADS speed that you should run. That's pretty much all I have for this video on how to find your perfect sensitivity. If you have any questions or if any of this was kind of a little unclear, feel free to comment down below, let me know. I'll be checking all the comments and helping you guys as much as I can. And yeah, hopefully this helps some of you guys. If it does help you, let me know. Drop a comment, drop a like. Yeah, see you guys later.